Welcome everyone. The purpose of the session is to show you how our free community helper tool can help to support your community during COVID-19 by matching vulnerable people to the support that they need, be that from council services, third-party agencies or volunteers. We've built Community Helper with input from Liverpool City Council, and because it's free for 6 months, we're seeing high demand. So today we've decided to record this session so that everyone can view it in their own time. On today's session, we'll give you an overview of what Community Helper does. We'll then give you a real demo of the system and let you know how you can find out more. So, like most councils, you'll be managing a sudden influx of need, both in relation to your vulnerable or shielded people list, but also as a result of people contacting you to say they need food or other types of support. Lots of councils that we're talking to are telling us that they're managing this on spreadsheets at the moment or in other manual ways, and most of them are worried about the data protection and risk issues that causes. In addition, there'll be other people in your communities that have a need that might not be captured just yet, so people who are struggling for food or medicine, or people who are just very lonely. We know that you'll be under massive strain trying to manage all of that demand, along with lots of offers of help and new volunteers. So Community Help has been designed to make your lives easier and to get the right support to the right people faster than would otherwise have got there, and in a systematic way. In simple terms, it can bring your existing list of vulnerable people and match their needs to people that can help. There's also a dynamic form to capture community need, and this collects information about things like food and medical needs, for example, so that needs can be prioritised and supported in an easy, quick and efficient way. If you're on Facebook, you've probably also noticed people posting needs to community sites. So the other thing that Community Helper does is avoids the need for people to post personal details onto social media in order to receive support. So there are two ways that the system works. The first is that it can import the shield list, so existing data about vulnerable individuals in your council area and their needs can be imported automatically into Community Helper. Each person's need can automatically be created as a case and be immediately visible within the system. We can then work with you to set business rules so that those cases can either be automatically routed to agencies or individuals that can help, or can be assigned to a centralised team who can then field the work out to a list of people that are also hosted within the system. This is tweakable per council because we know not every council is working in the same way. If we give you an example of a large-scale operation for a city council, for example, smart routing can be enabled so that food requests can go automatically to a food agency such as the Trussell Trust, where other demand comes into the central team. Rules can be set according to your individual needs. When the need is then met, the case is updated to say either that it's been done or to ask for more detail to be added. So a volunteer will receive an individual email or SMS message to be asked if they can support. They click a simple yes or no. If it's yes, they then get the details of the case sent to them by email or by SMS and are asked to click once that job has been done. And they will only ever see the detail of that work that they need to see. They will never see the vulnerability of the individual person they're supporting. What the beauty of this is for central teams is that central council teams can see exactly what the needs are, so the incoming needs alongside the shielded list, and what the status of each person is, and exactly who has done what and when. So there's a full audit trail throughout the system. Access is based on leased permission, so the centralised council team will be able to see, if you want them to see everything that's happening within the system, the ability to see everything that's happening within the system to have that global view. But individual volunteers and agencies will only be able to see what you enable to help them to do the work that they need to do. The second way that the system helps is it has a dynamic form. So in this example, if you imagine there's an 89-year-old lady living by herself, self-isolating, so can't go out, but she's not on the shielded list. Her daughter lives abroad and she's worried that her mum needs food. Her mum's told her she's got less than 3 days' food in the house. The daughter completes the dynamic form asking for help for her mum. Because the mum's got less than 3 days' food in the house, her need is automatically prioritised above lower priority needs based on multiple factors. So her mum's age, how much food is left, etc. And that can be routed to the right team. So as with the previous example, we can support you to set the business rules that you require for your local operation. In exactly the same way as previously, the delivery agency or volunteer picks up the email or the list of tasks to be done and simply clicks when those things are complete. What's lovely about this is that the daughter can also be updated. So at a time when needs are critical and demand is very high within local authorities, the last thing councils need are for repeat calls to be being made to say, where's this up to? So the daughter will get an SMS message to say that her mum's food's been delivered, and the council has a dashboard so that they can very clearly see what's been done, when and by whom. So we know we need to make this really easy for you and as easy to adopt as possible, and that you just need solutions in as soon as possible to help you to move away from spreadsheets. Community Helper requires absolutely no system training for volunteers and less than an hour or so of training for central teams. It's totally secure, it's very intuitive, and it's free of charge for 6 months. If you were to be interested in Community Helper, there are standard T's and C's, and it's a SaaS model. So after 6 months, if you decided no longer to use the solution, there's absolutely no commercial or data lock-in at all. If you did want to continue after month 6, we've looked at our own support and hosting costs, so the cost that it costs Civica to manage the solution, and we've applied what we think is a fair cost of £1,500 per month. As you know, software as a service means that it's like a tap, so if you decided you didn't then need the solution beyond month 7 or month 8, you can simply ask us to turn it off with 30 days notice. Because we're rolling this out at scale, there's a fairly systematic process in place if you decided to sign up. So all you would need to do is let either myself or Michael Hill know, and our contact details are on the following slide. And we will then send you the terms and conditions document to sign. Once we have that back, we can then schedule the implementation for you. And for that, we just ask for some simple bits of information, and we will upload your vulnerable people list to the solution to support you in the first instance. The whole solution can be live, configured and up and running in a day. And we'll also make sure that you have access to training webinars that you can refer back to, as well as all relevant documentation. Our contact details, if you are interested, are kate.lindley@civica.co.uk or michael.hill@civica.co.uk. And we're really happy to talk in more detail about the solution and to share with you some examples of how other councils are using it. Thanks for your time today. There is a demonstration that follows this should you wish to view it.
Community Helper is a completely web-based solution. That means that you can simply access the system from your browser, whether you're a staff member or using the self-service tools. You can use Community Helper in Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer, Firefox, and also Safari on Apple devices. It is also fully responsive, so you can use the system on your standard laptop or desktop, but also your smartphone and tablet. Now I'm just going to start off by running through a self-service example. So this is where someone may be making either a self-referral or referring on behalf of someone else using an online form. And our online forms can be embedded within your website using OEmbed iframes, or you can simply link to a styled version of the form. And these are dynamic forms, so as you flow through the form, it will prompt you for additional questions based upon your inputs. So as I click through, you'll see that additional prompts may appear. I'm then prompted to answer some questions about the support that may be required. I can also at this point upload any attachments as well, and I can do that throughout the system, so we don't have any limits on the nature of files that you may want to upload. So you can upload PDFs, but also things like images, maybe of a prescription, or other file types. So here I can now maybe express my needs in terms of this referral. I can also maybe provide some details, and as I provide input, the system will, on various fields, validate sort of that input. So any mandatory fields will be displayed in red text. And then I'm prompted to put in my contact details. And we also have postcode lookups. So I can then select an address, and that will then pre-populate the address fields. I can also express how I might prefer to be contacted. I can also put in a phone number. Maybe I also then want to put in my date of birth. And any other additional information that'd be useful. We also can add additional sort of fields or change this sort of terminology based upon a council's specific needs. And here is actually an example of a specific piece of additional functionality we delivered for another council. So we might want to ask actually if the person lives in a social housing as a property, and if so, who is their social landlord. For this particular council, we've then set up the system so if one of their partner landlords is involved, it will then push the case straight to them for handling. So in that local authority area, they have that arrangement in place, and so they will then sort of take on the referrals based upon their own tenants. But then here I am presented with, before I then submit, an opportunity to just review the details I've input. I can edit if required. I can also go backwards and forwards throughout the form, but here I'm now going to submit, and then I can see the information I've submitted, and also I can, if I need to, save or print those details. Now, if I sign in now as a staff member, someone within the COVID-19 response team, I first of all get a view of all activity or requests that are actually assigned to me personally. But here with my permissions, I can actually also access any incoming work, and you can also set preferences. So incoming work can also be alerted by email, so that could go to individual mailboxes or to group mailboxes. And here is my new support request that has come in from James Henryson. So I can now review the details, and I can also sign this onto an individual within the response team. So here are a list of available sort of team members. Now I'm admin administrator, so I'm going to assign this one to myself. And again, when you assign work on to colleagues, the system can also alert them via email, so they're not needing to be in the system all the time. The system will alert them when they've got something to do. So right at the top of my list now is the new request that's come in. So it now, when I go into access that request, the first thing is that I can review the details of the submitted form. And now we're in the case view. So this is where we can view the details and manage the request. So on the left hand side I have a what's next area, so that will guide me in terms of the procedures that we've put in place, and the what's done area will show me what's already happened. So for example here I can see that the system has actually sent an automated acknowledgement via email to James following submission of his support request. At any point you can also click and just view the transaction details, so you never lose sight of what's already happened on the case. And on the right hand side I can see the status, sort of details, any sort of notes about the individual related to this request. And I also have a number of ad hoc activities I can initiate at any point as well. So for example, adding a note. But my first action here is to first of all actually check to see if James actually already exists in the system. And actually here it's sort of flagged up that we can't find him, so we're going to register him as a new contact record. Now, of course, that may be a search against people who are actually already on the imported shield list. So in the system administration area, you can actually upload shield lists and it will automatically create new requests for each of those people on the shield list. But here, we're just going to register James's details. I can also update the details if required at this point. And so that activity has now moved from the what's next to the what's done area. And we'll also see here that a urgent food request has actually been pushed already to our food provider service to handle. So that could be a voluntary sort of network, it could be going to sort of individuals, again very much based upon your requirements, but this is really an example of automation. So in this particular flow, if there's an urgent need that needs to be met, then we can actually, before anyone gets to that request within the council response team, actually we can push out sort of details to the relevant provider. But I then also here have my activity to now allocate the other elements of the request. So I would have the option, if I want to also allocate a volunteer or a helper for the food support, I can do so at this point. But here we'll also now allocate a helper to provide assistance on the social contact element of this request. So here it is now showing me helpers in terms of how close they are to this household, and also based upon their current workload. So it will order based upon the proximity and also sort of the workloads of the individuals. And again, you can upload those details into the system from spreadsheets, etc. To sort of again sort of help in the automation, so you're not having to manually key in all those details. So that's now been allocated to Bill, and Bill has now been emailed with details of the support request, and Bill can then respond to that email, and that will take him to a simple form where he can indicate whether the helper is able to fulfill the request. If not, then they can provide the reasons, and that of course will update the case, and then he can submit. And so my case has again been pushed to the top of the queue with an update. So here we can see it's been accepted. So as the council staff member, again, I can review the details, and our helper has now been allocated an action to now fulfill the request, and James has been notified of the allocation. So James has been advised as to who's going to be providing that social contact support to him. But then, so there, we can see here Bill has now received details of Sir James, the person he's going to help, and once he's fulfilled this request, Bill can then confirm the fulfillment. He can also provide any additional sort of notes that he may feel are going to be helpful to council. Of course, that could be raising a concern about maybe an issue to do with the household. And I can again submit that sort of back against the request. So again, I will then be updated, and I can then, of course, review the case and complete any further sort of actions that may be as it required. So again, the process can follow the relevant council procedures in terms of delivering and fulfilling support to the individual. I could also make further allocations, again, dependent upon how I want to manage that request. Now, we also have a range of additional case management functions based upon the user's permissions and privileges that will be available to help manage workloads, but there is also a configurable dashboard as well. So this is a default flavor of the dashboard, but you also have a user with sysadmin access who can also design and sort of deploy additional charts, widgets, list views, etc. into your dashboards. And in this example, I can then, of course, have oversight of open as it requests, how old those requests are currently on the system, but these are fully interactive as well. So here with the pie chart, I can actually break out segments, I can drill down, I can even do things such as view as details on geographical maps as well. So I can actually interact and maybe see, of course, sort of hotspots of where we're providing support. You can even deploy things like our pivot table technology. So this is sort of drag and drop sort of type sort of interface. So I might want to sort of break down by, say, sort of postcodes. I can pull out sort of different sort of details here. And I can also do things like heat maps as well. Here's also a view of our requests as it received recently, so productivity in terms of allocations and fulfillment, quick view in terms of any urgent requests, and also a particularly useful tool for managers, team leaders, etc., is a facility for if I want to reallocate work across the team at all. I can use, again, a nice simple drag and drop facility to maybe, of course, deliver more fairness in the allocation of the work across the team. And then, as I mentioned, there is also an area where we can provide additional facilities in terms of reports and analysis. So you have a library of predefined reports that you can access. And you'll see actually for any of our reports, you can then mark them as a favorite, so they go into a favorites area, or you can also subscribe people to receive those reports by email. And that is then supported further by our ad hoc reporting engine. So this allows you to build reports, and again, also you can subscribe people to receive those reports by email. You can also publish links to those reports to other users, but this means that you can build portrait style list reports, landscape style, extract data and put it into a spreadsheet format. You can even design data feeds to be consumed by solutions such as Power BI. You can build your own dynamic lists or data grids, pivot tables, pie charts, bar charts, stack bars, line charts, stacked area charts, styles, and also just simply tables of data. And effectively then all data in the system is then available for reporting. So I can report upon the tasks, time spent on cases, the sort of helpers involved in cases, the different types of support, and also, of course, just simple sort of elements such as the cases coming in, open cases, cases due for completion, cases with recent activity or status change, notes. So here I might just do a quick report in terms of support types. I'm going to just look at our COVID-19 support request. And then I'm going to maybe look at something like support type. And here I'm just going to look at this in terms of a simple sort of month received. And I'm going to set this to be a monthly report looking at the last 6 months. So then I can set a title for my report. I can set the labels. And even as this is a chart, the size of the chart. And so very quickly I've been able to then pull out data and review that in my report, and that is now in my saved area. I can now share that. I can subscribe people to receive it. I could duplicate and create another similar report. And that's the end of this overview of the Community Helper solution powered by iCasework.